This episode of Film Riot's brought to you by Squarespace and Gamefly.
Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques that go into some of your favorite Hollywood films. Today we're going to show you the sketch we shot last week, along with a pretty cool effect that goes with it, and then later get into some basic color correcting techniques.
In the beginning, Adam bites the apple. In 1903, the first narrative film is made. In 93, Spielberg says F you to evolution. And in 2009, Film Riot is released to the world.
Want to be a filmmaker? Well, so do I. Let's figure it out. We're going to be following Trying Films from pre to post production as we make our latest short film, Tell. Along the way, we're going to be showing you how to accomplish great effects with little to no budget. And every now and again, we'll be jumping over to Full Sail University to get you advice from the pros.
So grab some popcorn and get comfortable. This is Film Riot.
I love this show.
Propaganda.
What?
Spinach doesn't really make you stronger. They're just trying to make us eat it. It's the government's way of controlling our food.
You're crazy.
I'm not buying it, man. I see right through Big Brother.
It's not pomegranate.
Propaganda.
Yeah, and spinach does make you stronger.
Doesn't.
Does.
Does not.
Does, and I'll prove it.
MythBusters?
MythBusters.
Take me in the chest.
What?
Right in the chest.
Dude, I don't want to kick you in the chest.
It's cool. You have the strength of a teenage girl. You're not gonna hurt me. Now with the spinach.
Looks yucky.
Teenage girl. Now, hit me.
Hit me! Josh? Josh? Myth confirmed? I'm gonna go ahead and get a Snapple. Do you want one? Okay, I'll get you a Snapple.
Logo.
Hello, viewers. I just finished watching Max Payne and was wondering if you could show how they did the actors being flung back by the shotgun blasts. Derek. Hollywood's version of this effect is conceptually the same as what we ended up doing. Ours is just a little cheaper and less complicated. I also opted to go with a kick instead of a shotgun to try to avoid arrests that would lead to jail time and unpleasant intimate encounters with big men that have tattoos. Now do not try what we're about to show you at home. I have some training in stunt coordination and Josh is dumb enough to trust me. But what we're about to show you can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, so do not do it. And if you do, I don't want any emails being like, oh, I broke my clavicle, or my son watches your show and now his balls are where his face used to be. Because I warned you.
3, 2, 1.
For this, I got a harness from Walmart that hunters use to drag their kill behind them. Now, before I get a bunch of hateful animal defending emails, I just bought the harness for the effect. I don't hunt. In fact, the only thing Film Riot kills are dance moves. Now take the harness and strap it onto your actor. Of course, being as creepy as possible the entire time. Now have your actor put his shirt back on and cut a hole in the back of the shirt for the hook that you find in the back of the harness. Then tie onto the hook with some rope. Then we set up something soft for Josh to land on and had Bruno and Eris pull him back as fast as they could on my signal.
2, 1.
Now what we did to make sure we didn't hurt Josh was have him lean forward a little bit and put a lot of tension on the rope. That way when he was pulled back, it was just an increase in pressure instead of a sudden jerk on his back. Next, I set up a shot with Bruno and a light stand, with the light stand right where Josh used to be. Then had Bruno kick the light stand. Next, I got a clean plate, and now to recap, we have Josh tug a war, Bruno kicks a light stand, and a clean plate. Now take your footage into your effects or editing software. Put the clip of your actor kicking on top and the one of the actor getting pulled below that. Now take your masking tool and mask around the actor that kicks to mask the two clips together. Now, if you watch the show, you've seen me use this technique many times, but I don't think that I've ever given you the technical name for it. It's called rotoscoping, which is the act of going frame by frame to manually create a matte on an image. The technique was invented by Max Fleischer for animation in 1914 and patented in 1917. Now this is suiting since Max Fleischer also produced Popeye. See what I just did there? Full circle. And now you're impressed. I know. The technique originally started with animation, but graduated to live action later on. It was used in films like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, Star Wars, Tron, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, to name a few. And now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
So now we have our footage shot and our 2 clips composited using rotoscoping, but we can still see the rope in frame. So now we're gonna do a little what I like to call wire removal. Now there's a few ways you can accomplish this if you don't have a clean plate, like using cloning, but we were smart and got our clean plate, so now we can do the easier method, which is using the masking tool yet again. So now put the clean plate on top of your other 2 clips and use your tremendous tool of masking to take out the rigid rope from your scene. Who says I can't turn a phrase?
Hit me!
And there you have it. Now you can do the same thing for the shotgun blast. It's just gonna be a little bit easier since you can have both actors in the same frame and only mask out the rope. Now once you're done with your footage, you might get a little bit bored, so why don't you play a video game? What's that? You don't have one that you wanna play? Well, why don't you check out Gamefly? Huh? Another great segue. That's 2 weeks in a row.
Prototype!
Batman!
Prototype!
Batman!
Prototype!
Batman!
I'm older and I say prototype.
Well, I'm not emotionally disconnected, and I say Batman. You just don't pay enough attention to me sometimes.
Prototype!
Batman!
Prototype!
Batman!
Prototype!
Batman!
Gamefly is the largest online video game rental store and has over 6,000 titles to choose from across all consoles and handhelds. Gamefly plans start at just $15.95, and Gamefly members get to rent whatever game they want for as long as they want without any late fees or due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done with a game, just send it back and they'll send you the next one on your list. But if you like the game, you could go to Gamefly's website and click Keep It, and Gamefly will sell you the game at a discounted rate, and then send you the case and manuals for freezies. Film Riot fans get a 2-week free trial just by going to gamefly.com/Film Riot. So now the only problem is trying to figure out which game to rent.
Prototype!
Problem solved.
Booyah!
Booyah indeed.
Logo.
I never consider a video finished until it's been color corrected, and depending on how advanced your knowledge is, you can really dive into the color space of your image and go nuts. But today we're just going to get into some color correction basics to get your video looking prettier and more cinematic. I'm going to be showing you this in Final Cut since it has the tools that pretty much any editing software has.
This is going to be kind of short since I'm just going over the basics. Later on in the series, I'm going to get much more in-depth with color, but for now, we're just going to get you started. And first, I'm going to start by explaining these video scopes to you. The first one here is a vector scope. This shows you the chrominance information in your scene. That is the color you have on your image. And as you can see, it's pointing heavily to the red, and that's because of Bruno's red shirt. Down here you have the waveform monitor. This shows you the luminance information in your scene. That's basically your black and white image. So everything between pure blacks, pure white, and all the tonality in between is going to show up right here in this monitor. Over here finally you have your RGB parade, which is basically the same thing as the waveform monitor, just broken up into red, green, and blue.
Yeah!
So the first thing I'm going to do is to correct the exposure for my scene. So you can see here that the blacks stop right around 13, which is more of a gray than a black. So I'm going to come over here and pull the blacks down to get into the bottom. As you can see, when you correct the blacks, it also saturates your image, and you need to be aware of that as well.
What?
Now I'm going to come up here to my whites. I'm going to pull that up. As you can see, there's already some hot spots here, but that's the sky, and I'm not worried about blowing that out. What I'm worried about is this section here, so I'm going to pull that up to get it to the top. So now that I've done that, you can see that we're peaking in the reds, greens, and blues. So now I'm going to grab the RGB balance filter and pull the highlights down for the reds, greens, and blues to get their color below the white line so they're not blowing out. So now I have everything evened out and created a good base to build on, which means it's time to manipulate the color just a little bit. Now I'm going to use the 3-way color corrector here, but you can also do the same thing in levels. Now the first thing I pretty much always do is to add blues to the shadows. I think it gives it a very filmic look, and I do it pretty much every time. And now you can already see that that looks way more cinematic. Then I'm going to come over here and drag the whites down to a sort of cyan color, then take the mids and go in the opposite direction. And what that's going to do is take your highlights to more of a palish blue color and leave your mid-tone with more of the skin tones and the yellows and the reds. Creates a lot of nice color contrast, and it gets your highlights looking really good.
Action.
So finally, the last thing to do to get my image looking cinematic is add a box screen. Of course, you have to know you're going to add this when you're shooting, or your composition's going to be terrible. So I'm just going to click on my 2351 box screen, and there we have an insane difference, in my opinion, of our shot.
Now typically I color correct in Magic Bullet since the schedule for the show doesn't really allow me a lot of time to color correct. Magic Bullet makes it a lot faster and easier. You can find that software at redgiantsoftware.com. Now the beauty of color correction is that it'll take a boring image like this one and turn it into one like this one. That's sickalicious.
Sickalicious. A combination of the words sick and delicious. Sick being used in slang definition meaning great or awesome. And delicious used not in the literal sense regarding the taste buds, but rather relating to the eyes. Sickalicious.
Manage your entire Squarespace site on the go with the new Squarespace iPhone application. You can post and edit blog entries and upload pictures on the fly. Snap photos on your phone and quickly post them to your blog. And content management is super easy. All of your posts will be accessible directly from your Manage tab. You can edit drafts, delete posts, and preview posts with ease. And best of all, you can manage multiple accounts. Your Accounts tab allows you to manage content from multiple Squarespace sites. You can save a draft post from one site and then easily jump to another site to schedule a post for later in the day. So jump over to squarespace.com and get your site going. And when you do, be sure to use the promo code FilmRiot to get 10% off the life of your order. And there you have it. And just as a reminder, you still have a few days to go to podcastawards.com and vote for Film Riot in the Best Produced and Best Podcast categories, or whatever other podcast you think is worth it. You can vote every day till November 30th. As always, if you have a little ditty you'd like to see answered on the show, you can email me at filmriot@revision3.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Ryan_Conley, holla at your boy, and do a little friendalicious action on our Film Riot Facebook page to stay plugged in with the show. And, I'll holla at you pimps and players next Thursday. That's a word up.
Oh my God!
I'm stupid? What?
Wait, go!
That was ninja. That's what that was.
There's no way I'm eating this, dude.